Hello everybody, this is TechnoPaladin. Welcome to a tips video for Dyson Sphere program. Today we're going to go over some, hopefully handy tips for you and your playthrough for Dyson Sphere. Now, so with Dark Fog update coming soon, now's the good time to start getting prepared. And what better way than, well, being able to build faster. And the first tip that I'm going to bring to you is one that it took me a bit to figure out, because I wasn't paying attention and I didn't read through the guide or the help or anything. But when you're going to place down facilities, and this goes for any of these production facilities really, and I believe it also goes, it's also true for these guys, for anything that you're going to put down, no matter what it is, you can hold down the shift key before you click your left button. So as you have this little build ghost right here, we can start by holding down the shift key, and then we single click, but don't click, but single press, right? So you're holding it down. Then we're going to drag, and you can see some of the information there as a tooltip that popped up with the expand interval, the narrow interval, tab interval. Well, these are helpful. So after you've held down that shift and you're holding down your left button and you're moving it back and forth. So if we hit tab, you see how it kind of changes the interval on the 3. Tab, it's on 2. Here's evenly spaced. If we come back here with the minus, we can get back to here's just sticking it down. The first plus gives you a proper space every 3 for this particular building, so you can throw down a power pole in the middle. Another space gives you to where you can put a power pole on every 2, depending on how you have your stuff allocated. Further out, so on, right? But the big thing was not just this plus and minus, was the shift key, right? Because now I can come down here, you can see we can go all the way out to 15 units. Now I'm just going to do a couple here instead of the full 15, but you can just see it's really easy. It just plops it right on down, and that's all there is to it. Now, this next tip has to do with blueprints. So the first thing, when you come into blueprints for the first time, after you've unlocked it here, you have the option to create a blueprint book, which if you have here, you'll see these ones that got like a little bit of a book icon on them. You can see you can have kind of a way to group your blueprints, which is very, very handy. Now, the one thing that you gotta know, if you want to save your blueprints in these things, is how you save the blueprint to get in there to begin with. You can do it in your file system, show an explorer. You can kind of drag and drop the files. But if you want to do it right here in game, so if I was to come in here, let's just say I have this item here ready to be blueprinted. If I come in here and I say select here, so now that it's blue, in your blueprint save path, you're going to put the name of your book. So if I do this here, segments, so this is a book I have, and then I hit the slash, so that's going to say I want it in this folder, and I'm just going to call this test and test, right? And I'm just going to select something on here just so we can see it, and I'm going to hit save. Now when you come in here, you'll see now we're in the blueprint segments path, and we have test right here. So that's a quick and easy way to allow you to generate these things here and in a specific folder. Now for the next tip, and this is going to be helpful if you're actually taking blueprints from the interwebs or from a friend, or you just wanted to move things around. You can also, let's just take this one that we just created, this test one. So you have this sharing code. If you hit the copy, and now if I come in here and say I want a new empty blueprint, I come in here and I can say paste. And now I have everything here, and I hit save changes, and I have another blueprint called test. So that's another way that you can duplicate your blueprints, share it to a friend, or even take one from the interwebs. Now this next tip is going to be really geared towards blueprint design. Especially in the early game, if you want to do things quickly, you are limited in size for your blueprints. And you'll see here I have a couple small little pieces here. Now when you start getting into the late game, and I'll pull up a blueprint here just so you kind of see the size of these suckers. You can see this big blueprint, right? It's got lots and lots of stuff. Well, sometimes it takes a little while to get all that set up, and if you're doing it by hand, it can really go slow. So one way that you can kind of speed that up is building these little segments. So what this is you're setting up a path for usually a two-sided setup, depending on what you're building. So in this particular case, I have 3 different examples. So this is an assembly setup that uses 3 inputs and 1 output. This one's a 2 input, 1 output. And then we have a chemical plant where it has 2 inputs and 1 output. So you can kind of see that you get a similar layout here where you have 1 on each side of the transport belts that are providing the materials. Now you don't have to follow this as I am, but this is an example. So your mileage may vary depending on your aesthetic and style. But what you can do here is we can come in here now that I've put these things down. I can either save it as a blueprint by coming in here again, saying create blueprint and doing like what we did in a previous tip where we create this segment. Or if I don't want to actually create a blueprint and I just want to reuse this, say this is a one-time thing, I don't think I'm going to use this design ever again, similar to creating a blueprint, but I want to use more, I can come in here and click on it like I'm going to. But you can hit use now and this will not save the blueprint. So I can just come in here and go click, 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 and I can add more. Right now, one thing to note with blueprints, just like the construction tip, you can hold down the shift key. Now, as you design your blueprints, if you zoom in here, you'll see that it's not connected. So when I'm shifting over and I'm creating more, it's not connected. But if you've set up your blueprint just right, with just enough spacing on your belts, if you hit the minus key one step, it'll connect. And then you can just drop them down. And then you don't have to fiddle with the belts in the middle. So that's one way that you can use segments to very quickly, as you can see here, build out a whole chain. And we can extend this further if we come in here and just do a quick little example. So if I come in here and say, I have this guy here, and we just did this, and let's use it again, and we're just going to make 3 rows. Right, because we're going to use a tower and we have enough room for a lot of them. So now, again, you can come in here, create the blueprint, and just say use. And now I can come in here and just do a shift and do this, hit my minus key, and I can build out an entire platform of items, no matter what you're building. So this is a very quick and easy way to help build up your factory very fast. Now, this next tip is going to be for your Dyson sphere itself. Now, we don't always have a Dyson sphere on the planet, especially if it's your first one that you've built. And say that you have this nice one here that we created that we like, that's going to generate a bunch of power for us and have all the things that we want. You've colored it, you've laid out all your different spirals or straight up and downs or however you're doing it. And you want to put this on any solar system that you come in contact with, because you just want that design everywhere in your galaxy. Well, there is no actual blueprint book for the Dyson sphere itself. In order to actually copy and paste this, if you come into the Dyson sphere tool, the editor, like we are now, and you come in here and you hit copy, this will copy the entire blueprint, your orbits, your shells, everything. Now what's nice is in this upper left corner you have a drop down and it has all the planets that you've actually visited. So as you can see, I can just kind of come through here, I can click and it's taking me to the different planets. You can even see the ones that have stuff being worked on, the ones that don't. And let me see if I actually have one here that I don't have a Dyson sphere on. Well, we'll just come back here to the black hole. It's not really going to produce anything. This star illumination is very small, but just so you can see the paste operation, if I paste it, it's going to say, are you sure? Yes. And now all of a sudden we have a Dyson sphere around a black hole. How that works, I have no idea. But there you go. That's an easy way to copy and paste your entire setup, and it works the same for the individual swarms and shells. Hope that helps. Okay, this next tip is to help you with your mining performance. So as you get into the end game and you have this advanced mining machine, one of the things that you can do is you can actually make it work faster. This gathering speed here you can come in here and run this slider up and say up to 300%, and it will actually, it does increase the power, but it will actually allow this thing to speed up. So if you have limited veins on a planet, say 1 or 2, and you need more content, you just crank that up to 11, as it were, and there you go. Now, another quick tip is on your logistics towers. Once you get to the point where you have them, you can limit the production and consumption by using this slider right here. So you can set the mins and max. That's very helpful for when you're trying to bring things in, say like these space warpers, where you don't want a ton, so you can set the max and kind of go from there. But when you're doing this, if you start setting it below the normal threshold for your drones, it will get more, just like you see here that I have on my space warper, because where I'm providing these, I did not set my settings correctly. So it's actually sending out a full stack of 2000 whenever I request any. So what you can do is in this minimum load, there's this little section, minimum load of vessels. If it's at 100%, the load capacity, whatever it is, so in this case, my carrying capacity is 2000. That's what it's going to take. So if I set this to 50, then it's going to be 1000 and so on. So this is a very helpful tip that you can use to make sure that you're only shipping what you really need. This is really helpful for your malls if you're creating a product mall for all the stuff you have to build, or these items where you don't need them in vast quantities. You can set this down really low, and that helps. And then with that, you can also do the similar thing with your drones. The drones, obviously, these are the ones that are going to be pulling across the planet. So you can actually increase this one if you want to slow things down, decrease it if you want to speed them up. So that kind of helps you there. And then you also have this charging power. So if you have a lot of things going on where you have a lot of transport activity, whether it's the interstellar drones or just the local drones, because you have all the slots filled and you're consuming everything under the sun, if you increase this charging power, as you can see, my charge is really low, because it's shooting out drones. As you increase this charging power, it'll make sure that this keeps up, so that way your drones will stay on track and actually have enough power to keep launching and not create a bottleneck for you in the future. This next tip is going to revolve around my concept of these little segments. Now, most of these segments are blank. You'll notice they don't have a recipe, and there's nothing in them. So I can drop these down really quick whenever I need any recipe that takes 3 items. So if I was to come in here and say, oh, I need a super magnetic ring, I can drop it down. Particle broadband, drop it down. I can use these to build up whole factories, and all I gotta do is set the recipe once I put it down. And there's a quick way you can do this. If you click in here, so the first one, let's say we're gonna make a super magnetic ring. So I can then copy and paste. So if you can use the less than and greater than, so I can copy, and then I can just paste it to all these, which I only have 6. But when you get to when you have 100, 200 in an assembly setup, it can take a lot of time to make sure you hit that greater than on all these things. So what I do is I'll just do it on the first one in a row. And then just like when you're doing the build with the ghost, so when you come in here and you click this and you hold down the shift key and you move over like that, you can do the same thing with this. So if you shift and then click on that, it's going to grab it, and it's going to have all the different pieces that's attached to it. And we can just drag it over and let go, and then it's going to copy that recipe over. So again, I can just come in here, shift click, wait till it goes blue, and then just go across. And now I have the recipe set. And that's a very quick and easy way to reset the recipe, or even just set the recipe on an empty setup. Okay, for this next tip, I'm going to need a little power, so I got that hooked up. Now, when you're building out your designs, one of the things that if you're using the logistics towers, they have kind of a built-in capacity, 5, 10, 15, 20,000, whatever they are. And so it kind of gives you a little bit of a buffer, but sometimes you need a little extra buffer. And you can use this whether it's on your inputs going into a tower, your outputs coming out from a tower. If you don't even have a tower, but you want to have things going. So in the early game, if you're mining a bunch and you're producing, say, the copper plates or iron plates or things, and you know you're going to need a bunch, but it comes in fits and starts, you know, kind of off and on. What you can do, and I'll delete this just here really quick so you can see. So when you have a splitter, you can come in here and you can add a chest on top. And what this does is it will actually give you a way to have a buffer. And if I come in here and I just click this, and you'll see that it's outputting from this chest. You can see it going down, but it's not, the belt can't go any further. And you'll notice here it's coming in and it's actually stacking up. So you can create a buffer. This is an easy way to create that buffer, and it'll give you a little extra flow through rate or help you to keep things consistent if you have processes that kind of run off and on depending on what your needs are. And with any chest, you can also then just set a max capacity on here, so that way it will stop as well. So it won't go beyond that. You'll see it here stop here in a second, and then there's our belt full and good to go. So you can limit the actual extra capacity as well, but it's a great way to add a little bit of buffering to your system and keep things just running smooth. Well, that's the end of this tips video. I hope you enjoyed the tips that we had today for you in Dyson Sphere program, and please join us back for some more playthrough as we continue our series of beta signing until the dark fog comes out. Until next time, thanks for watching. Good night.